They thought they were alone in the dark. Then the lights came back, and the thing wearing a human face looked straight into the camera and smiled. If you missed it, don't blink now because that smile wasn't a mistake. It was a message. Section 1. Episode 3 opens like a slow breath before a storm. The town is quiet after the blackout, but the quiet feels wrong, like a room that still holds the echo of a scream. Streets are empty, doors hang open, and radios hiss with a soft static that almost sounds like whispering. Our survivors split into two small groups, telling themselves it's for safety and speed, but really it's because no one trusts anyone. They used to share food and plans, now they share looks. Quick, sharp looks that say, "Are you still you?" Inside the clinic, the generators cough to life. Cold white light returns and paints everyone in a sickly glow. Maya checks the blood fridge, counting bags like a banker counts cash. She is calm, but her hands tremble. She keeps glancing at the door as if she expects it to open on its own. We learn why when she finds a note tucked behind a tray. 3 numbers, scrawled in pencil, the same 3 numbers the radio repeated right before the blackout. She doesn't tell the others. She slips the note into her sleeve and says the fridge is fine, lie number 1. It will not be the last. Across town, at the school, Elias and Rohan search the science lab. Beakers are broken. A map of Earth hangs, sideways, stabbed through with a pushpin right over the ocean. Elias is the kind of man who laughs when he is scared. His jokes fall flat here, bounce off silent walls, and lie still. Rohan doesn't smile. He keeps his eyes on the vents. In episode 2, he heard something move in the ductwork, and he never forgot the sound. He hears it again. Just one soft drag of metal on metal. He says nothing because he wants to be brave. Or maybe because he is afraid to hear himself say it out loud. Back at the clinic, the first clue drops. A patient who vanished during the blackout is back in the waiting room, sitting very still, staring at the fish tank as if he has never seen water before. His name is Jonah. He speaks, but the words are off by half a beat, like a song sung by someone who learned it yesterday. He says he woke in the quarry under the old antenna tower, and there was a light in the fog that tasted like copper. When Maya asks what he means, Jonah only blinks. He cannot describe the taste of a light. Who could? Yet somehow we know exactly what he means, and that is the most frightening part. The episode keeps cutting between these places, letting the tension pass from one to the other like a held breath. In the lab, Elias finds a jar with a moth inside, its wings marked with a bright ring, a pattern that looks like an eye. He jokes it's a lucky charm. The power flickers. The moth taps the glass. The ring on its wing glows for a second and goes. Dark. Elias goes quiet after that. He knows luck when he sees it, and this isn't it. Maya draws Jonah's blood. The color looks normal, but it clings to the needle a little too long, like honey that can't decide to drip. She sends Rowan a text, short, vague, all edges, and he answers with a single word, vents. That's all she gets before the signal drops again. In a hallway lit by a failing bulb, Maya hears the elevator move, though no one pressed the button. The doors open to an empty car. Something has been here, or is still here but chooses not to be seen. At the school, Rowan climbs onto a desk and lifts a vent cover. The screws are warm. Inside, he finds a small pile of things that don't belong together. A key with no teeth. A strip of film with only white frames. A child's marble that seems to glow from within even in the dark. He pockets the marble, then thinks better of it and puts it back. Respect the nest, he says, and Elias laughs again because the other choice is to scream. These little moments build the larger picture. Episode 3 is a study in doubt. Doubt of self. Doubt of memory. Doubt of the body itself. Jonah forgets simple words and calls a chair a sitting tool. Maya keeps seeing a shadow in the reflection of the fish tank that isn't there when she turns. Elias touches the jar again, and the moth does not move, but the ring on its wing flares like an alarm every time he says the word home. No. One says the word after that. It feels like a trap. Near the midpoint, the radio comes alive on its own. A voice speaks in a slow, broken rhythm. It doesn't sound human, but it also doesn't sound like a machine. It repeats the same 3 numbers from Maya's note, then adds a new sequence longer, sharper, like a knife drawn across a plate. Maya writes it down without meaning to. Her hand moves before her mind does. When it ends, the fish in the tank float to the top for a breath and then swim in a perfect circle all at once. As if pulled by a string no one can see, the episode drives us to the quarry at dusk. Everyone meets there, drawn by rumor and fear. The fog sits low, thick and wet, hugging the stones like an animal. The old antenna tower stands crooked, wires hanging like vines. Jonah walks ahead, as if he knows the way, though he says he doesn't remember. He stops at a patch of ground where the stones are arranged in a careful curve. Maya spots it first. The curve matches the ring on the moth's wing. Elias says it means nothing. Rowan says it means everything. Both feel true. Then the final stroke. A shape moves inside the fog, not toward them but around them, testing the edges like a hand feeling along a wall in the dark. Phones die. The radio whispers a word none of them can agree on. Later some hear borrow, others hear hollow. Jonah smiles the wrong smile. He looks straight where the camera would be if one were there, and his eyes shine with that same faint ring. The screen holds on that smile for one breath too long. And that is when you know the body came back from the quarry, but something else came back with it. The credits crash in without music, and the silence that follows is the loudest sound in the episode. Asterisk, the fog did not lift after that night. It lingered like a memory that refused to be forgotten. Episode 3 drags us deeper into that unease, and in this second act, the story begins to unravel itself in ways no one expected. What we thought were random details turn out to be part of something bigger, something stitched together with too much precision to be coincidence. The air itself feels like it is waiting, as if the world is holding its breath for what comes next. Maya is the first to notice the change. At the clinic, she replays Jonah's blood test again and again. Not because of what it showed, but because of what it didn't. The machine never gave a reading. Instead, it froze mid-process, every number on the screen replaced by the same repeating digit. 3, the third episode, the third number. The third warning. She doesn't tell the others, but we see her hands tighten around the paper slip where she's written the sequence from the radio. 3 has become more than a number. It has become a door. Meanwhile, Rohan can't let go of what he saw in the vents, the marble, the toothless key, the strip of white film. They haunt him. He tells Elias they looked like offerings, pieces of a ritual no one remembers. Elias laughs it off, but his laughter is softer now, weighed down. They both hear the dragging sound again, closer this time. This isn't something in the ducts anymore. This is something moving with purpose, something that wants to be found or wants to find them. The quarry becomes the magnet for everything strange. Survivors whisper that if you stand near the stones long enough, you'll hear your own name spoken from inside the fog. Some go to test it. Some come back pale, trembling, unable to speak. Others don't come back at all. The tower looms overhead, its wires swaying without wind, as if responding to a rhythm no one else can hear. The show makes us watch the characters circle this place again and again like moths around a flame. Each visit peels back another layer. Each visit costs something. It's here that the episode introduces the echo effect. Jonah speaks, and half a second later his words repeat faintly from the quarry stones, like a recording that shouldn't exist. The others test it. Maya says, "We should leave," and the stones whisper back, but twisted, "We should believe." Elias tries next, muttering, "This is madness," and the echo slurs it into, "This is made us." Each distortion feels deliberate, as though the quarry isn't reflecting their voices, but rewriting them. The more time they spend there, the stranger their bodies feel. Elias touches his chest and says he can't feel his heartbeat in the right place anymore. Maya swears her shadow is lagging, moving a breath slower than she does. Rohan notices that when he blinks, he sees the world not from his eyes, but from somewhere behind his own shoulder. The quarry doesn't just echo sound, it echoes self. It starts to peel people away from who they were. Tension fractures the group. Maya wants to record everything, to study, to map the patterns. Elias wants to destroy the tower, convinced it's the source. Ro wants to run, to burn the quarry and salt the earth. Their arguments feel real, desperate, like survival debates, in the face of an apocalypse. But Jonah, who says very little now, only smiles faintly and stands closer to the stones, whose silence is louder than all their words. And then the moths return, hundreds of them, pouring from the tower vents in a silent cloud. Their wings pulse with rings of light, pulsing in unison like a heartbeat. The survivors cover their faces, but the moths don't land. They circle overhead, forming patterns that match the numbers from the Radio 3, then more, longer chains none of them can decode. Maya stares upward, whispering the numbers as if she understands. Elias drags her away, shouting that they're only being marked. The second act of this episode is all about patterns and the terror of recognition. We start to see that nothing is random: the blackout, the whispers, the moths, the numbers. Each detail is another stitch, in a design too big to see from the ground. But what makes it horrifying is how the survivors themselves become part of the design. Their voices are echoed, their bodies shifted, their choices predicted. They are no longer just witnesses, they are pieces being moved on a board they can't see. By the time night falls again, the clinic lights fail for good. The last scene of this section is Maya standing in the dark, holding the note with the numbers. She strikes a match, ready to burn it, but the flame flickers into a ring instead of a tear. She drops it in shock. The paper does not burn. It only glows. Her whisper is barely audible. We're not meant to win this. And the camera lingers on her face just long enough to let us know she believes it. Asterisk by the third act. Episode 3 stops pretending this is just survival horror. It becomes something stranger, something that feels less like a story and more like a riddle the characters have already lost. The fog thickens around the quarry, swallowing distance, so the tower looks both close enough to touch and impossibly far away. The survivors stand in that shifting space, unsure if they're outside or already inside something else. Time itself starts to bend. Elias checks his watch. Midnight. He checks again seconds later, 3 in the afternoon. Jonah is the center now. He doesn't speak often, but when he does, the quarry answers. His words sync with the echoes until it's impossible to tell which voice is his and which belongs to the stones. Maya records him on an old tape machine, but the playback reveals something horrifying. On the tape, Jonah never pauses for breath. His voice runs seamless, endless, as if the human part of him is only the tip of something larger. Rowan refuses to listen. He insists Jonah isn't Jonah, that the quarry has hollowed him out. He pulls Maya aside, whispering that they need to end it before it spreads. But Maya isn't so sure anymore. She's noticed her own reflection shifting. Her face in the clinic mirror blinks half a second later than she does. If Jonah is already gone, maybe they all are. The climax of this act comes when the moths return, not as a cloud but as a formation. They move like handwriting across the night sky, spelling out the same numbers that have haunted the survivors. But this time, the sequence doesn't stop. It keeps going, carving symbols into the darkness until Elias screams at them to look away. Still, no one can. The light from the moths burns into their eyes, and when it fades, they each see something different. Elias sees the earth split open like a shell. Rohan sees himself climbing the tower with a smile that isn't his. Maya sees nothing, only black, and whispers that the blackness felt alive. The act ends on Jonah, finally turning to the others. He opens his mouth, but no sound comes out. Instead, the quarry itself speaks for him, a voice rolling through the stones. You are already chosen. His eyes glow faintly with that impossible ring, and the camera cuts hard to black. Asterisk, the ending of episode 3 doesn't explode with action, it suffocates with silence. After the quarry's voice speaks through Jonah, everything halts. The fog stops moving. The moths freeze midair, wings suspended as though time itself has been pinned down. Even the sound of the night crickets, wind, the low hum of the tower vanishes. For a full 10 seconds, the screen is still, forcing us to sit in the same emptiness as the characters. And then, piece by piece, the wrongness begins to reveal itself. Rowan is the first to break, shouting that they need to leave, but when he runs, his footsteps don't echo. Maya follows, trying to call his name, and her voice comes out half a second late, as though her body and her sound are no longer connected. Elias looks to Jonah, but Jonah isn't Jonah anymore. His body is upright, eyes glowing faintly, but his shadow has detached. It stretches across the ground, moving independently, its head tilting when Jonah's doesn't. The shadow steps closer to the others even as Jonah stands perfectly still. The tower lights flicker on for the first time in the series. Not the weak sputter of a failing machine, but a steady alien pulse, each beam stretching into the fog and bending like tendrils. It feels alive. Maya clutches her notebook, the page with the numbers burning faintly against her skin, and realizes the sequence hasn't been a code, it's been a countdown. And tonight, it has reached 0. The ground trembles. The stones of the quarry shift, not randomly but in deliberate movement, sliding against one another until they form a vast ring. The pattern matches the rings on the moth's wings, matches the circles Jonah traced unconsciously in the dirt earlier. Inside the ring, the fog thickens into a shape humanoid at first, but too tall, too thin, its limbs bending at impossible angles. No one says it aloud, but we understand. This is what has been calling them. Rowan raises a weapon, but when he pulls the trigger, the sound comes after the flash. The bullet disappears into the fog, and the fog answers by whispering his name. Elias drops to his knees, laughing and crying all at once, because the quarry's echo repeats his words from earlier. This has made us. Maya does not move. She stares at the figure and whispers that maybe they were never survivors at all. Maybe they've only been vessels waiting to be filled. The final shot lingers on Jonah's face as he finally smiles, not the forced, uncanny smile from before, but something calm, assured, as though he's exactly where he belongs. The moths descend around him, covering the screen in glowing rings of light. And just before the cut to black, the quarry's voice speaks once more, not distorted this time, but clear, human, familiar. Episode 4 begins with you, and the screen goes dark. No credits, no music, just silence, leaving us to wonder if the story has ended or if it has only just begun.